Four $1,400 stimulus checks specifically focused on the low income? Yeah, this is unbelievable. I have all the details and what you need to know right here in this video. Let's get right into it. All right, so for the last year and a half or so, all of us right here in this community have been begging, pleading, and trying to compromise with Congress and the administration to get us just one more $1,400 stimulus check, again, specifically focused on the low income, which, by the way, according to what we've been actually identifying right here in the community, we've been identifying the low income as anybody with an annual income under $40,000 per year, and this, according to our calculations, would encompass about 50 million Americans, of course, give or take a few million, but around that 50 million mark. Now, according to our calculations as well, a one-time $1,400 stimulus check for 50 million people would cost about $70 billion, which, when it comes to the federal government and Congress, that's not all that much money, considering they approved tens of billions of dollars all the time for all kinds of other projects. So sending out a focused $1,400 check for about 50 million people probably wouldn't be like the biggest deal in the world when it comes to Congress to send out that money for the people who really, really need it right now, as the situation continues to deteriorate as a result of all of this rapidly rising inflation and prices on virtually everything. However, now we're talking about four $1,400 stimulus checks? Yeah, there's some pretty big developments about this, and I want to talk you through all the details and the moving parts on this because this is actually pretty interesting. So let's get right into it. However, really fast before we do, thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here or if you haven't done so yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button right down below the video. I'm here for you each and every day in any way that I possibly can be as your one and only daily advocate to keep you updated with everything going on right now as things are changing very, very rapidly. There's new announcements literally every single day hitting the wire, which is exactly why I'm watching it very closely, breaking it down into these short videos and keeping you updated with everything going on right now. As I've always said, anytime that something comes out that includes money, benefits, checks, stimulus, programs, or anything else you can possibly get your hands on right now as a low-income or fixed-income beneficiary, of course, I want to point it out for you and help you in any way that I possibly can grab the benefits and, like I always enjoy saying, your piece of the pie. So again, thanks so much for joining me. Please make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet so you don't miss any updates going forward. And let's get right into these really, really big numbers. All right, so this is a little bit interesting as far as some things that have developed here. Like I said just a minute ago, $70 billion is all it would really cost to send out a $1,400 stimulus check, one of them, by the way, for 50 million people, which, by the way, we've also run the numbers as well on a $2,000 stimulus check for 50 million people, again, would only cost about $100 billion. So we could also use that as an example as well if we just so wanted to do so. However, some new information that recently came out in regards to the administration and President Biden is suggesting possibly even the equivalent of four or even 4.5 $1,400 stimulus checks. Let me talk you through the details about this. And by the way, I am not here saying anything bad about the president. I'm not here taking political sides. I'm simply telling you the information that was released out of some people that are close to the president and that have information on this topic. So let me tell you all the details about this because this is actually pretty interesting. All right, so as it comes down to it, there's been some information that came out just a few days ago where apparently the president was supposed to be coming out announcing the cancellation of $10,000 of federal student loan debt per borrower, which would cost $321 billion to taxpayers. Well, basically what it comes down to, as the federal government basically cancels off all this debt, and then the bill basically comes back to the taxpayer, who ultimately pays for that because that's where, the money comes from, right? That's where the federal government gets their money, is through tax revenues. However, I'm not saying that this is such a bad thing as far as canceling federal student loan debt. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying this is simply the announcements that have been out there. $321 billion is what they want to wipe off the table. Just literally an executive order the president would be signing essentially and wiping off that $321 billion right off the table, and which this would actually completely cancel federal student loan debt for over 11 million people. So you can kind of see the magnitude behind this. However, check this out. As a result of this, if they were to do this, again, this would essentially be the equivalent of the federal government spending $321 billion. Like, even though it to be canceled, this would still be the equivalent because all of a sudden that money is not going to be paid back, and therefore it'd be the same sense as the federal government just taking it on and essentially spending $321 billion. But check this out. As we considered all of these numbers that I talked about earlier, $70 billion is what it would cost for a one-time $1,400 check for 50 million people. But get this. If they were to wipe off $321 billion right off the table by canceling this federal student loan debt, this would be the equivalent of 4.5 $1,400 stimulus checks that could be sent out to 50 million low-income individuals. So, yeah, pretty big numbers, right? So 4 checks alone, let me give you these numbers. 4 $1,400 stimulus checks would cost $280 billion, provided they're sent out to exactly 50 million people. Now, again, it's probably not going to be exactly right down to the number, 50 million people, but I'm using that 50 million number because that's according to the research and everything that we've been talking about for a while now. That's basically how many people really need a fourth stimulus check right now. So sending out a $1,400 check to 50 million people would cost $70 billion. However, with this $321 billion, again, if we multiply 70 billion multiplied by 4 would bring us up to $280 billion. This would still leave a surplus of $41 billion in the event that we were going to match the $321 billion that the president wants to wipe off the table as a result of executive orders, right? With all the federal student loan debt. So according to the calculations, this would actually equal 4.5 $1,400 stimulus checks for all of these 50 million people. That'd be unbelievable, right? So to put that into perspective, that would be about $6,000. Actually, it'd be $6,300 exactly according to the math here when it comes out to all of this. So essentially, we could put it this way. Rather than a one-time $1,400 check, we could do a one-time $1,400 check for $70 billion, 4 $1,400 checks for $280 billion, or we could even do the lump sum of one payment of $6,300 for about, like I said, 50 million people, which would still equal that $321 billion. Unbelievable, right? Yeah, we can kind of see how this is kind of a really big situation here. So, even though I do know that a lot of you here in the community would probably benefit from this federal student loan debt cancellation, at the end of the day, I know that there's equally as many people here in the community that do not get any benefit from this because I've seen your comments down below saying, what about us? You know what I mean? So again, I know that's kind of a controversial topic. I'm not going to go down that road. I'm not going to take either side with that. I'm just simply saying that is the comments that are out there now. And those are some of the kind of the rebuttals that are out there as well from many people that I've been reading about in different articles and headlines and different things that have been circling around lately. What people are basically saying is, this is great for the federal student loan borrowers, but what about all the other people who have outstanding debts as well, who maybe don't have the federal student loans, right? So again, there's a lot of different back and forth on this. There's a lot of different arguments about this topic, but this is what it would come down to. It'd come down to the equivalent of 4.5 $1,400 checks for the low income. 50 million people who are low income or fixed income with an annual income under $40,000 a year would essentially be the equivalent of 4 $1,400 checks. Actually, 4.5 $1,400 checks to be completely accurate. So anyway, that's what that would hammer out to be. Unbelievable, right? So we'll have to see what actually happens here going forward as far as the president goes. But according to the sources a few days ago, they came out and said the president was going to be announcing this $10,000 that would be canceled by executive order from the president. And then, of course, shortly thereafter, they came back and said, wait, we didn't really mean it that way. The president hasn't announced it yet. It's not official quite yet. We're not going to be canceling that quite yet, but stay tuned. So who knows? Again, according to what else, other things that I've been reading on this as well, they may want to be timing this perfectly in front of the midterm elections, which again, probably wouldn't be all that surprising if they wanted to cancel this $10,000 right in front of the midterm elections. Pretty good timing, right? Again, we'll have to see what actually happens here. We're a little bit out from the midterm elections as of now, But again, we're coming up quick here, and we know that they want to get some things done as far as all of this money, benefits, programs, executive orders, all kinds of other things that they might maybe want to approve here prior to the midterm elections. Anyway, there's a lot of different things on the table right now, a lot of back and forth, a lot of money at stake, a lot of money being tossed around right now. But of course, as I do get more details on any of this, I'll be right back here for you, breaking it all down and letting you know how all of this translates into our pockets, into our bank accounts, and how it translates into money for the low income, fixed income, and basically all the beneficiaries I talk about right here on the channel. So again, thanks so much for joining me. Please make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet. Share this video with your friends, family, social media, and go back and check out some of the other thousands of videos right here on the channel. A lot of really good content. There's a lot of information that is changing very, very rapidly right now, but I'm right here for you to help you out in any way that I can and keep you updated with all of these changes as they are happening. So again, thanks so much for joining me. Please make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet. And until next time, please enjoy your day, and I'll catch you again later.